So that's really cool. I've learned something today about those. Now, the one thing that I really hate as an architect is those ugly. We're at M Squared Tiles. We're talking to Mitch. He's the tile genie. He's going to tell us how to use tiles, where to use tiles, what all the different tiles are. So thanks for agreeing to chat to me, Mitch.
It's a pleasure. Thanks, Nadine.
Okay, so first thing, I've been doing this for a while, short 18 years,
Yes.
And I hate to admit it, but I don't actually know the difference between the different tiles. I sort of know that there's porcelain and ceramic. I don't know what that means. I'm a little bit clueless. I know what I like the look of, but beyond that, I don't know. So I'm gonna ask you to start there, please.
Okay, so let's start. Very basically, tiles, you get three main types. You get a ceramic, a porcelain, and a full-body porcelain, which will have a color pattern right the way through the tile. The main difference is obviously, if I can show you an example. So ceramic, original choice of tile manufactured many years ago, will generally have a red-bodied biscuit. It will have a pattern and a glaze over it.
So the pattern is applied to
the actual top layer of the clay, correct.
Okay, all right, so that's ceramic. Okay.
Then you'll get a glazed porcelain, which is a lot more durable in the fact that it's got a cream or light cream biscuit. Same color and patterning gets done on the top, and then it's glazed again. So when I say glazed doesn't necessarily mean it's glossy. Okay. So this is glazed, and you can see it's matte.
Matte. Okay.
This is also glazed, but this is polished.
Okay. So this is porcelain. So it means that this biscuit
yes,
is a different clay.
Correct.
Okay.
And the different clay is a lot more denser.
Okay.
It's got a much lower porosity, making it a lot more durable. Okay. And that's very important in South African homes when it comes to patios and large verandas. And why I say that is porcelain is a lot more durable in the fact that if it's outside, during the day we have very high temperatures. Yeah. And then at night sometimes it will drop drastically. So the porcelain biscuit will generally take more of that tolerance and won't crack or won't tent or won't expand as much. Okay. Whereas the ceramic needs to move a lot more because it's got a much higher water absorption.
Okay, so even in a room where you may be getting a lot of sunlight coming through the windows or doors are going to stand open, yes, it would be better than to use the porcelain.
Correct.
Okay.
And also with the porcelain, you can use a lower size joint or grout.
Okay.
Whereas the ceramic, because the actual tile moves microscopically, but it moves because it's absorbing the moisture, it needs a wider grout.
So it needs wider grout.
Correct.
I thought grout was actually just to fill the gaps.
There's a reason why there's a grout, and that's to actually allow the tile to move and, if I can say, breathe.
Okay, I did it. So learning already. I didn't know that. Okay.
So, but we'll come back to that on the grouting.
Okay.
And then you get the full-bodied porcelain, which obviously is color mass right the way through. Full-bodied generally is a very technical product. It can be used in high-traffic areas like airports, shopping centers, and like areas of high traffic.
Okay, so hold on. So you say this is full-bodied. So is this pattern then running through the whole tile?
It will generally run through the entire.
So it's not just like applied on top as a layer.
No.
This is literally a solid thing. So it goes all the way through.
Correct. So you can imagine now the process and the production of this is quite costly.
Okay.
But in a high traffic area, say now for instance a train station, that's taking heavy traffic day and day. So if it was glazed, the glaze could wear off. Whereas on a full body, it's not going to wear off.
Well, if it does, you're not going to. Okay.
It's not going to. There's not going to wear off. It's going to wear down into the tile, but you won't necessarily see that over time.
Okay.
So that's the three main differences.
You've got ceramic, porcelain, and full-bodied. What is this? Just full-bodied, not
full-bodied.
Just full-bodied. Okay.
Full-bodied will always be porcelain.
Oh, always porcelain. Okay. So now. That's great, thank you. I could have learned this a long time ago, but now, if one of my clients is going shopping for tiles,
yes,
and she doesn't listen to my advice and come to you, and she goes to a tile store, what does she need to look out for? So obviously now you know that she can ask for ceramic, porcelain, or full-bodied, but what do you recommend that somebody looks out for?
So for a general home, or what Mrs. Jones is looking for in a home, I would recommend that they go with a glazed porcelain, especially for main floors and external floors. I think a full-bodied porcelain is an overkill in a domestic environment.
Okay.
It's really not, you don't need a full-bodied porcelain in a home. It's not taking that much wear and tear. And you could use a ceramic, but a ceramic would generally be used in a bathroom or a wall application. That's generally where they would be used.
That's a great question. So ceramic is not necessarily suited to floor.
It's suited to floor.
But very low traffic then.
But low traffic, but it depends again. So on the hardness of the tile, be it a glazed porcelain or glazed ceramic, you'll have what they call a technical term called pie rating. And the pie rating is basically the hardness of the glaze and the wear and tear. So on every glazed ceramic and on every glazed porcelain, you'll have a pie rating, which will start at 5 and be at 1.
Okay.
A very hard tile or hard glaze will be pie 5, which is suitable for commercial floor.
Okay.
And a pie 4, which is also quite hard, is very suitable for a domestic application.
On a floor?
On a floor,
okay.
Yes. So glazed ceramics will have a pie rating of 1 to 5, 5 being the strongest, and same on a glazed porcelain. But when it comes to domestic environment and domestic floors, a pie 4 will generally be suitable because those floors will probably last between 10 and 20 years without actually having any issues. But if you were now putting a floor into a shopping center or a strip mall...
But I mean, then anyway, you're probably going to go full-bodied.
Or you could go with a glazed porcelain.
But it has to
because of cost. Because of cost. You might want to use a pie 5 glazed porcelain.
Yeah, and I guess that they also redo...
Correct.
Every sort of 5 years or whatever. Okay, so then you'd go for that. Okay.
Yes.
And is that written on the box, or can you ask the salesperson?
You can ask the sales consultant. Generally, if you were to look at a tiled floor, so you walked into a home and you looked at a tiled floor, it would be quite difficult for you to see, is it a glazed porcelain or is it glazed ceramic? Because once it's installed, you can't see what the underneath is. Yeah. So you wouldn't really know. But before installation, obviously you would know. Generally on a box of porcelain, it will say Gres Porcelanato or something towards that. Okay. And also it will have on the boxes, it will say either porcelain or it will have the technical absorption rates or things like that. That's one quick way to know what the tile is.
Okay.
The other quick way would be you'd know straight away if it was a glazed ceramic, if it was red biscuit on the base.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yes, you can use glazed ceramics. There's nothing wrong with them. They've been around for 50, 60 years. But again, it comes down to the pie rating and the durability.
Yes.
So rather, like for instance, a big covered patio, big open patio with lots of sun, rather use a glazed porcelain
or full body.
Outside.
But that's overkill. This is fine.
This would be an overkill, yes.
All right, perfect.
Cool.
Okay, so now we've established that. Now let's talk about installation. So you mentioned earlier that obviously grout actually is there so the tile can contract and move. What else is important to know when it comes to installation? I mean, I think from the experience I've had, I know that whenever there's large format tiles, installation is generally more costly because
of the handling.
I mean, other thing is, do all of these use the same adhesive or?
No, so what's quite important, and the tile retail level generally, if you're doing a quote for glazed ceramic or glazed porcelain, the tile retailer will generally quote on the relevant adhesive. So the relevant adhesive, and the reason why they're different is because on a ceramic adhesive, ceramic is more porous, so it's a slightly different adhesive that needs to be used. On a porcelain, it's not porous at all, so you need specific bonding agents in the adhesive to actually stick to the base of the tile.
Okay.
So on the quote, if you were choosing now glazed porcelain for your home, we would include a matching porcelain adhesive for that actual tile.
Okay.
Then obviously I mentioned earlier the grout sizes and grout joints. So that allows for the tile to breathe. So on a floor, so now you've got a large floor of dining room, lounge, living room. On a large floor, I would recommend probably a 3mm joint on a glazed porcelain. And then I would probably also suggest that there be an expansion joint in that floor, because over that entire space, the tile still needs to move. The 3mm joint is going to help with that. But every 5 by 5 meters, technically, it is recommended that the screed has a joint, expansion joint. And then you wouldn't grout that joint, you would use a silicone joint.
Okay, so it's not visible, it's
not visible.
In the screed.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and that's so that it can all move.
Correct.
Okay.
Because again, if you had tiles, and I've seen this before.
I didn't know that either.
I've seen it before where there was a large room and a 2mm joint was used on a large format, and during winter the incorrect adhesive was used. So for instance, they used a ceramic adhesive.
Oh, wow.
That didn't stick properly to the floor, and during winter the temperature dropped below zero, and what ended up happening is the tiles couldn't move and they tented.
Oh, wow.
So the whole floor literally blew up and tented up. That's what can happen. Okay. So it's crucial to have the right joint, the right grout space, and then when it comes to installation, again, you can then choose your grout color to try and match the color of the tile, which also helps.
All right, and so back to our big formats. Why are those more difficult to
So larger formats,
install?
if you think about it, the tile is obviously a huge tile, so a 1.2 by 1.2. It generally will require two guys to handle the tile. And also, because it's now larger, they've got to try and set that tile into the adhesive. So on a smaller format tile, you might be getting away with 3 square meters of adhesive per bag. But on a larger format, you're now using your 5mm trowel, but you've now got to try and adjust that tile. But what we have got now, which helps a lot, is you get the self-leveling spaces. So on a self-leveling tile, what the tiler will do is he'll use these between two tiles and then stick the wedge in between, have 8 of them on one tile, and that kind of helps the tile get level. So you don't have that lippage. Far more superior, and I would highly recommend this on a 600 by 1.2, anything bigger. And
then so this gets put in, tiles get obviously leveled, and then what happens to this McGaffer afterwards?
So once the adhesive is dried, generally the next day, they'll come along, remove the wedges, and then they click these out, which then basically
just breaks off.
That breaks off, and then they're left with a clean joint, and then they can grout the floors.
So this is an upgrade on
your typical
original tile spacer.
That's exactly
where sometimes grout wears off.
Correct.
Over
and then you see them stuck in.
Time.
That's it. This really works well, especially on a larger format, because on a larger format tile, your allowance of your convex can vary on a larger format, because it's almost convex in the length of the tile. So on a 600 by 1.2, if you think about it, in the middle of the tile will be the tile's highest point. I'm talking within tolerance. But what will happen is with the wedges, every single tile will be at the same height or same level. So you're not getting lippage between.
Assumed that they're all at the same height.
You know what they say about assumption.
Yes.
So never assume.
So that's really cool. I've learned something today about those. Now, the one thing that I really hate as an architect is those ugly aluminium edge strips. So one, why do we need those? And two, what else can you do instead of the ugly?
So the reason why we need them. So on a rectified tile, so rectified being laser cut tile, which most tiles are nowadays, if you think about that very sharp edge, if you put that on a step or on an edge of a door or something like that,
it's going to break.
This is a very weak point on the tile. That's going to break. So yes, traditionally your aluminium strips, which would protect that edge, that's the point of it. These can be used, for instance, on door edges or in a commercial step or a fireplace.
I really hate them when they use them in bathrooms.
They're awful. I'm not a fan of them.
I don't mind them maybe so much on a floor where they're not as visible, but I hate seeing that thing
edge,
in a bathroom.
So two ways. On a staircase, what I would probably do is, now what we do is we actually send the tile off to be bull-nosed. So it goes through a machine, it takes that very sharp edge away, and then your riser on the staircase would sit flush. So you're getting a very neat
junction. But now tell me, is this bullnose, I'm assuming this is only possible like on a porcelain?
You can do it on a ceramic, but remember on a ceramic, you're going to see the red
different
biscuit,
color.
Which is not always a bad thing, because if this was done on a staircase going up, you will see going up every single red, but that brown line. But it's going to define each step. So it will be a visual thing. The alternative to doing a half bullnose, which is also lovely, nice and neat, is to do what we call a laminated mitre. So this again would be something like that, where you've got this returning to your riser, But this has been mited, and they use a special epoxy underneath this, so it doesn't come off. These are great for staircases if you want to do LED lighting behind. So now your opportunity is endless. Also great for around pools.
But if you're going to stick an LED light behind here, is this edge then not going to be supported? Can it handle that?
It's not supported. So the LED will generally be about a 10 mil, but these can handle that weight.
Can handle that. Yes. Oh, wow.
So you can create really nice features, especially if you're doing floated stairs off a patio, for instance. You can do LED underneath it so they look floated. Or from a front entrance, you can do floated steps too. Oh. So very effective. Very nice. And this obviously then doesn't chip.
Okay.
So coming back to bathrooms, again, I'm not a fan of using aluminium strips or plastic strips. Say, for instance, on a window reveal or a niche in a shower.
That's my worst.
Correct.
You have a beautiful niche,
and then
nice
you've ruined
feature tile, and then...
Yeah, horrible. So two things. Either the retailer can suggest that they miter those edges for the client.
Okay.
But generally, if you've got a tiler that knows what he's doing and he's got the correct tools, he will be able to miter that joint on that edge of that niche or that windowsill.
Okay.
And that he can do on a ceramic, a porcelain, or a full-bodied porcelain.
Okay.
But that can be done.
But it's a skill.
It's a skill.
It's a skill of the tiler.
So it definitely can be done, but if it's something specific, then sometimes the retailer will suggest, let's do an edge for you rather. But most tilers can actually do it.
Okay, if they wanted to. All right,
and then what they would do, they would do then is they would fill that joint in, because now they don't have an epoxy on site, is they would fill that joint in with a bit of grout.
Yeah.
But it's not taking the wear and tear as a step.
Yeah, okay.
So it will last.